Over time, they build a psychological playbook based on what they have learned about you. They discover which words make you feel guilty. They discover which actions make you chase them. They discover which forms of affection make you feel safe and which forms of withdrawal make you feel anxious. They may use praise, guilt, fear, charm, attention, rejection, and even silence as tools to influence your emotions and maintain dominance in the relationship. This is not genuine love. It is possession wrapped in the appearance of affection. It is the desire to keep another person emotionally connected, even when that connection is painful. And once you begin to step away mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, the power they once seemed to have over you begins to crumble. To a narcissistic person, control can feel like validation. If they can make you chase them, cry over them, argue with them, worry about them, or even hate them with intense emotion, they may feel that they still matter. Your reactions become evidence that they still have an effect on you. Your confusion can feed their sense of superiority. Your anger can reassure them that they still occupy space in your mind. Even your hatred can become a form of connection in their eyes. As long as they can get a reaction from you, they may believe that they still have influence. But something changes when you stop reacting. When you stop explaining yourself, stop defending every decision, stop trying to prove your intentions, and stop justifying your feelings, the dynamic begins to change. When your silence becomes consistent and steady, the illusion of control starts disappearing. And it does not always disappear peacefully. Inside their mind, that loss of control can feel like a sudden collapse. They may sense the change long before you realize how obvious it has become. People who are highly focused on power and emotional dynamics often notice when someone stops responding to their usual tactics. They may act as if they do not notice. They may pretend they do not care. They may even behave as though they are happier than ever. But underneath the performance, they may be trying to understand what happened. Why are you not begging anymore? Why are you not checking in? Why are you not asking what went wrong? Why are you not defending yourself? Why are you not crying? Why are you not arguing? Why are you suddenly calm? Those questions can become extremely uncomfortable for someone who was used to getting emotional reactions from you. They may replay old conversations. They may examine your recent behavior. They may look for clues in the way you speak, the way you respond, or the things you no longer say. They may try to figure out whether you are really finished or whether you are simply pretending to be detached. For someone who has become accustomed to controlling emotional reactions, your stillness can feel threatening. At this point, they may try to regain their footing. They may say something cruel because cruelty used to work. They may make a passive-aggressive comment because they know it once irritated you. They may bring up something from the past because they know it once made you emotional. They may criticize something they know you are sensitive about. They may suddenly become distant and then return. They may provoke you simply to see whether the old version of you is still there. They are looking for a hook. They want to know whether there is still some emotional thread they can pull. But when you remain calm and do not take the bait, something important happens. The person who once seemed powerful begins to feel exposed. They may feel weak because the usual methods are no longer producing the expected result. That is difficult for someone whose identity depends heavily on appearing untouchable, admired, feared, wanted, or important. They may tolerate anger more easily than indifference. They may tolerate an argument more easily than silence. They may prefer being hated over being forgotten, because anger still means emotional involvement, an argument still means attention, a desperate explanation still means connection. But indifference communicates something very different. It communicates that the emotional game no longer has the same meaning to you. This loss of control can also make them reflect, but not necessarily in the way you might expect. They may not sit quietly and ask themselves what they did wrong or how their behavior contributed to the end of the relationship. Instead, they may focus on how they lost their ability to keep you emotionally attached. They may wonder how you became stronger. They may wonder who influenced you. They may wonder whether someone else opened your eyes. They may blame you for becoming cold, distant, disloyal, selfish, or ungrateful. They may struggle to accept that the problem was never that you cared too much. The problem was that your care was repeatedly taken advantage of. So instead of accepting responsibility, they may quickly move into defense mode. They may rewrite the story. They may present themselves as the person who walked away. They may tell others that they were the one who ended things. They may describe you as difficult. They may say you changed. They may say you stopped appreciating everything they did. This rewriting of the story protects them from having to face a painful truth. They did not lose your emotional energy because you suddenly became a bad person. They lost access to it because you finally understood what was happening. They never truly possessed you. They only had access to your attention, your emotions, your hope, your forgiveness, and your energy. And when you stopped giving those things freely, the relationship changed completely. Despite the internal chaos this may create, they may still act as though nothing is wrong. They may suddenly start displaying a perfect life. They may show new relationships. They may show new achievements. They may appear happier. They may become unusually active on social media. They may post pictures that seem designed to communicate that they have moved on effortlessly. But sometimes these displays are less about genuine peace and more about controlling the story. If they cannot control you directly anymore, they may try to control how the situation is perceived. They may want you to see them thriving. They may want you to become jealous. They may want you to question your decision. They may want you to wonder whether you made a mistake. But when someone truly stops caring, those performances lose their power. Because real detachment usually happens after a long internal process. You may have already cried. You may have already questioned everything. You may have already given too many chances. You may have already hoped that things would change. You may have already mourned the relationship while you were still inside it. You may have already grieved the person you thought they were. And once that grieving process is complete, something different takes its place. Clarity. And clarity is one of the strongest enemies of manipulation. When you finally see the pattern, the same behavior that once confused you becomes predictable. The same silence that once frightened you becomes peaceful. The same insults that once destroyed your confidence become information about the other person's behavior rather than proof of your worth. The same attempts to provoke you become obvious attempts to regain emotional access. That is why the loss can feel so devastating to a person who depended on the old dynamic. They did not simply lose a person, they lost access to a source of emotional attention. They lost the ability to predict your reactions. They lost the ability to pull you into arguments. They lost the ability to make you prove your love. They lost the ability to make you chase after them. And most importantly, they lost the illusion that they were always going to have control. When a narcissistic person realizes that you no longer care, one of the most noticeable reactions can be either rage or cold withdrawal. These reactions can serve as defensive responses to emotional detachment. The goal may be to regain influence, punish the distance, or force you back into the emotional cycle. Narcissistic rage is not always the same as ordinary anger. It can be explosive, excessive, and completely out of proportion to what actually happened. The deeper issue is often the feeling of rejection, humiliation, abandonment, or loss of status. When you stop chasing, stop reacting, and stop allowing yourself to be controlled, they may experience that change as a personal injury to their sense of importance. Instead of sitting with that uncomfortable feeling, they may push it outward, and you can become the target. Suddenly, harsh words appear, accusations begin, old mistakes are brought back into the conversation. Your character may be attacked, your intentions may be questioned, things you told them in confidence may be used against you. They may attempt to make you doubt the progress you have made. They may say things specifically designed to hurt the deepest parts of you. But the purpose is not always simply to hurt you. The deeper purpose can be to create emotional engagement again. They may not care whether you cry, scream, argue, defend yourself, or become angry. As long as you feel something strongly enough to respond, the connection has been restored. That is why reacting can sometimes keep the cycle alive. Your emotional response becomes proof that they still have influence. They may see your anger as evidence that they still matter. They may see your tears as evidence that you are still attached. They may see your explanations as an invitation to continue the conversation. This is how chaos can become confused with passion. A person can begin to believe that constant emotional intensity means the relationship is important, but intensity is not the same as love. Conflict is not proof of connection. Jealousy is not proof of devotion. Fear is not respect. And control is not intimacy. If rage fails to pull you back into the old pattern, the strategy may change. The fire can turn into ice. Cold silence can become another method of pressure. This kind of silence is very different from healthy space. Healthy space is taken to calm down, reflect, and return to a conversation with greater clarity. Punishing silence is designed to create uncertainty. It can make you wonder what you did. It can make you feel invisible. It can make you question whether you are being abandoned. The person may ignore messages. They may suddenly disappear. They may act as if you do not exist. Then, just when you begin adjusting to their absence, they may return. This creates a cycle. They come close, they pull away, they create confusion, they return again. And the unpredictability itself can keep a person emotionally attached. The purpose of the silent treatment, when used as manipulation, is often to create a void and wait for you to fill it. They may believe that if they withhold attention long enough, you will eventually reach out just to feel connected again. But something changes when you no longer fear the silence. When you are genuinely detached, their absence does not feel like punishment anymore. It feels like space. And that is a major turning point. Their rage becomes noise. Their silence becomes peace. Their distance becomes an opportunity to breathe. Their attempts to create insecurity no longer have the same effect. You begin seeing the performance instead of getting lost inside it. You begin recognizing that their anger is not necessarily proof that you did something wrong. Their silence is not proof that you are unworthy. Their accusations are not automatically facts. Their sudden kindness does not automatically mean they have changed. Their emotional intensity does not automatically mean they love you. You begin separating their behavior from your identity, and that is when the old dynamic begins to lose its power. Whether the response comes through loud, destructive anger or calculated silence, the underlying message can be the same. They are struggling with the fact that their emotional grip is weakening. For someone whose sense of worth depends heavily on controlling how others see them and how others feel around them, that reality can be frightening. So they may become louder. They may become colder. They may become more distant. They may become more dramatic. They may try to make you jealous. They may try to make you guilty. They may try to make you feel responsible for their pain. They may attempt one tactic after another, hoping that eventually you will break, but the more consistent your detachment becomes, the less effective those tactics can be. When a narcissistic person realizes that you no longer care, their first instinct may not be acceptance, it may be desperation, and desperation can lead to manipulation. But this time, the manipulation may look different. It may not be the early charm or subtle mind games that first attracted you. Now it can become frantic. It can become unpredictable. It can become more obvious. They know that you are slipping away, and they may try different tactics from their emotional playbook to pull you back into the relationship. This is when love bombing may return. The affection suddenly comes back. The attention suddenly increases. The person may appear thoughtful again. They may act as though they have finally understood everything. They may speak softly. They may apologize. They may talk about the good memories. They may remind you of the moments when everything seemed perfect. They may suddenly behave like the person you always hoped they would become. But this is where discernment becomes important. Words are not the same as transformation. An apology is not the same as changed behavior. Promises are not proof. A temporary performance of kindness does not automatically mean that the deeper pattern has disappeared. They may tell you that they have been thinking about the relationship. They may say they did not realize how much they hurt you. They may say that they finally understand your feelings. They may say they are ready to do better. They may bring back memories that once meant everything to you. They may remind you of the beginning, when everything felt exciting and safe. The purpose may be to awaken nostalgia, because nostalgia can make you remember the best moments while temporarily forgetting the reasons you left. They may offer an apology because they need a response. They may send a message because they want to reopen communication. They may make a gesture because they want to see whether the emotional door is still unlocked. Every small action can become a test. Are you going to respond? Are you going to explain? Are you going to soften? Are you going to remember the good times? Are you going to give another chance? If love bombing does not work, guilt can become the next strategy. This is when the person reminds you of everything they supposedly did for you. They may exaggerate their sacrifices. They may minimize the harm they caused. They may focus heavily on the few good things they did while ignoring the repeated patterns that damaged you. They may make you feel as though leaving is a betrayal. They may make you question whether you're being unfair. They may try to convince you that after everything they did for you, you owe them another chance. This is emotional pressure disguised as sentiment. The goal is to make you second-guess your own feelings. You may start wondering whether you overreacted. You may wonder whether you were too harsh. You may wonder whether you should have stayed longer. You may begin remembering the good moments and questioning whether the bad moments were really that serious. That confusion can become the doorway back into the same cycle. Then another tactic can appear: victimhood. The person may begin presenting themselves as the one who was hurt. They may tell mutual friends that you abandoned them. They may tell family members that you suddenly became cold. They may say that they were trying to save the relationship while you refused to cooperate. They may tell people that they gave you everything. They may present themselves as the person who was betrayed. The goal is not only to regain control over you, it can also be an attempt to control the story surrounding the breakup, because losing control over one person is difficult, but losing control over how everyone else sees the situation can feel even worse. They may want sympathy. They may want people to question your decision. They may want others to see you as the problem. And if you become defensive and start explaining everything to everyone, they may get exactly what they wanted. You are emotionally engaged again. You are spending energy proving your side. You are reacting. You are trying to correct every false statement. You are once again giving the situation access to your peace. That is why real detachment is not always about making everyone understand what happened. Sometimes it is about accepting that you do not need everyone to understand. You know what you experienced. You know what you tolerated. You know how many times you tried. You know how many times you forgave. You know how many times you hoped things would change. You know what it cost you.